Welcome to Brainworms and Tangents. My name is Pamela.
And I'm Carissa.
And we are two 20-somethings with ADHD on a quest to chase our impulsive ideas we can't shake. This is a self-growth podcast that is all about becoming who you want to be, one brainworm at a time.
So Pam, I hear you have a brainworm.
I do, and I've been hiding this one from you for a while because today is my surprise brainworm that I specifically was to keep a surprise from you to share on this podcast. And I've been waiting to do this grand reveal for a minute. I've been working on this since late December of last year. And this is what it is. I deleted my Maps app.
Whoa.
Just deleted
No
it.
maps.
No
Gone.
Maps Challenge 2026.
Take no maps challenge. Whoa. What? Tell me why. No maps.
So, it was the holidays and everyone's always asking, how'd you get here? Did you take 14? Did you take 374? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I got here. I just listened to my maps.
Yeah.
And I just think that is such a big issue for me is I don't know where I'm going. I'm just listening to the turn-by-turn directions of my Apple Maps. So I'm like, I am going to do this the hard way. I am going to delete my maps and we're doing everything old school.
That is so wild. It's actually funny. I literally just saw a video about kind of the history of maps and MapQuest and GPS and like the Garmin, and now everything we need is on our phones. That's so. Is your quest to know where you're going?
Yeah,
Be able to list off those highways.
Yeah, I want to know a little bit more where I'm going, but I also feel like I was relying on maps for very close by things that maybe if I didn't have my maps pulled up, that I would be able to get there by memory, but because I'm never giving myself the chance to think about it, I don't actually know. So it was just, in a broader sense, to be able to have better direction and better understanding of the roads around me. So I had a couple rules. So I deleted Apple Maps, but I left Google Maps because that is how I share my location with my mom.
Okay. Good.
So that had to stay. And I could still look up where stuff was, but I couldn't do it in my car.
Okay.
So if I was at home, I could look up where something is and then get an idea of the directions. But in the moment, I would have to just rely on either what I wrote down, what I printed out. So I did MapQuest.
Okay.
So I will talk about that. But then I also just kind of figured some things out.
This is so fun. I think there was a time when I started grad school, so I moved to a new city, and I lived like in an apartment, and I've been taking like, GPS to get everywhere. And I was like, let's see if I can get home by myself. And I ended up finding a new path to get home that I didn't know existed because I wasn't relying on like the most efficient or quickest way. So it was just like a fun challenge of, can I get home? Let's see. Wow, shortcut that the maps probably wasn't going to take me on anyways, or just like different roads that connect to each other. But I do think it makes you look around more, and maybe you'd find like a new place that you never knew. This is great. I'm so excited to talk about this today.
That's exactly the goal of it, is just being a little bit more present, just knowing your surroundings more. And I think it all comes back to convenience culture. And I'm not saying that maps are a horrible thing that, no one should use. But I think the more things that we do out of convenience, the less we understand about the world around us. And I mean, that's the purpose of convenience, right? Is to not have to think so much about everything all the time. But then I think you need to go out of your way to think about those things so you don't lose that understanding of how things work and about the people around you. I mean, something as simple as when I was growing up, it would be normal to pull over and ask someone for directions on the side of the road. Like, that is interaction with a community member, and I would never do that now. I think we lose so much to convenience culture, which is why I really wanted to do this. And we actually read a book called 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, our bestie Oliver Burkeman. He does not know about us, but we really enjoy him and his work. And in that book, he talks about one of the things that you can do to really ground yourself and really feel like you're making the most of your time is try and do something the more difficult way. Do something in the way that is intentional, does not take any shortcuts. So whether that be making a coffee not by using your Keurig, by grinding the beans and boiling the water and opening the filter and doing each of those steps, Oliver talks about just finding those things that you will do the slow and painstaking conventional way. And I think that's where I was going with this is I want maps to be that thing. I want to know where I'm going, and I want to feel like I know the things around me. So I decided to do this the old-fashioned way. So I'm sure you're wondering, Carissa, how did this go for me? What did this look like?
Yeah. How did it go? What did it look like?
Well, I quickly realized I would need a map.
Yes.
And I was searching, I was stopping at different highway rest stops to see if I could find a map. I couldn't. I found one at Walmart, but it was like $15. And again, I was not trying to spend money on this. Mm-hmm. So I researched. And on the Department of Ohio Transportation website, I found a little form. And you can request that they send you a map. So I sent this in probably like December 30th or something. And I'm sure they thought it was like a prank because I had to put in all my information of like my name and how old I am and my everything collecting data. But I'm sure they're like, this is a prank. This 27-year-old woman wants a paper map of Ohio. And I waited. I didn't hear anything for a while. Mm-hmm. But in January, guess what shows up? A thick envelope from the Department of Transportation.
Gosh.
And my map.
This is amazing.
They sent me a map for free. Which I appreciated. I think whoever's job it was to stuff these maps into envelopes, I gave him purpose that day.
I mean, honestly, the way that you have to fold maps to get them back to their original shape to like fit in your console it's a feat in its own. So that's amazing. I would love to know the statistics of people that are requesting maps. I'm about to request a map.
Yeah, anyone can do it. It's free. But I am disheartened to let you know that this map wasn't super helpful to me because it was too big and not detailed enough. So it wasn't helpful. So for most things, I had to rely on MapQuesting before I went somewhere or just looking up the directions. Or a lot of times I just went based off of memory and I hoped for the best. If it was around my city, I didn't MapQuest. I just took my best guess.
Are there any like exceptions to the rule? Like, how long are you planning to do this? For life?
So the only exception was when I was in Peru, I downloaded Maps app just because I had no idea where I was going. Mm-hmm. So that I did need directions and I wasn't going to die on that hill. But I don't know if I'm ever going to maps things again. Maybe if I go on a longer trip. The one thing, so I did drive from my city to the next biggest city over, so it was about 2 hours, and we were arriving at night and I had MapQuested the directions and I printed it out, and we did break the rules because we got lost in the dark.
Yeah.
And I didn't look it up. My fiance did. So I didn't break the rules because she wanted to. She wanted to get us out of the dark, which is valid. But I'm just saying, I think I could have gotten us out of there. But the reason why we missed the turn was because the street wasn't marked that we were supposed to turn down.
Yes. I think that's a very interesting thing because you're going to find all like these errors in, you know, the physical map of the world. How are you going to know that you need to turn somewhere if it's not there? I don't think that's your fault. I think you should report it to the Department of Transportation.
Well, and that's my conspiracy theory. I think since we started using digital maps, they haven't been as intentional about street signs or making them very big, because that's the other thing I noticed through this process is you can't see street signs a lot of the time. Like,
yeah,
it's really hard to tell. And if you only have the name of the road that you're supposed to turn down, it's really hard to tell if it's coming up or if it's behind. And of course you can do by like the distance. And I was doing that sometimes, but those things aren't exact. Like, I don't know exactly what a quarter of a mile feels like. So yeah, so that is why we missed the turn that one time that we map quested, and it was completely dark. So, and we had never been there before. That was another thing. Yeah. So there was a lot of things that were working against us. So probably would save myself in those situations in the future. But I think it's taught me that I don't need to turn on maps for everything. Like, I can at least try and then figure it out from there.
Yeah. It is interesting because I primarily use Waze. That is, I don't know, I find it, the layout is better, I enjoy it better. But I use it for the hazards on the roadway feature. So sometimes I'm not actually like putting in a location, although sometimes I do like to see like the ETA and like to, you know, see if it changes and whatnot. But usually I'm in there and I'm marking pothole, person on the side of the road, police, or things like that. But that might just go back to convenience culture in a way, maybe. Well, like, I mean, I think if people are more aware of their surroundings, they would see some of the same things.
I was going to say, what do you really use the hazards on the road for? I go, okay, and the hazard is either there or it's not. Like, what does that information do for you?
Well, if there's like an object in the road, I think I'm on high alert. Like, I'm looking more intensely than I usually do. And sometimes it has saved me from running over something because I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, there is like this physical, I don't know, something that fell out of someone's car now in the middle of the road. But I should just be paying attention all the time. But I do think it is like a heightened sense of, oh my gosh, giant stick in the road type of thing.
I guess I've never encountered a very significant hazard that Waze has notified me to.
Yeah.
Usually I'm just like
hazards.
Usually it's a false report of a hazard.
Well, maybe they moved it. And then you can be helpful by saying, not there. Or whatever road you're on might just be way too big and you can't see. But
yeah,
who's to say?
What's really useful about Waze, I will say, is the traffic feature, and depending on where you live, that can be more or less helpful. Especially if you're in the city, like, traffic will completely change your commute and when you arrive. And that was something I was a little nervous about because I do commute to my fiance, and it is about an hour, 45-minute drive, but I have run into horrible traffic where it's literally the worst time it's been 5 hours, and I wasn't prepared for that. So I was really nervous going into this just for that reason, where I had always navigated to my fiance using maps because I wanted to know what time I was projected to get there. Because there have been times that we've looked at it and been like, that's not going to happen. Or it saved me by going down the side streets instead of down the highway. So I was nervous about that. But luckily I didn't run into any issues with that. And the first time I drove from my fiance's apartment to mine, I made like so many wrong turns. I was like, this is ridiculous. I've done this drive so many times and I don't know the streets to turn down, which it's good that I did this. So now I know how to get around, but I knew the streets to turn down, but I wasn't paying enough attention to be like, this street has passed or this street hasn't passed. So I think it's good for that reason.
Yeah. I mean, that's when like landmarks are huge to know, oh, there's this building here, turn here. But I actually saw a TikTok, going back to the street signs things that you were talking about them being too small. There was this roadway, and this guy was complaining about the sign because it was a speed limit sign, but it had specific hours. So 25 miles per hour, but it was like specific school times. But it was just way too much stuff for a little sign. And it was like a whole deep dive. But basically, he was talking about you don't need to make the sign bigger. You need to make the roads different. You need to force people to slow down. Sometimes a sign isn't going to do it. But if we make the road from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, or add like a median or a speed bump or something like that, you're forcing people to slow down rather than putting a big sign that they might not look at, which I think could be a metaphor for everything that we're talking about. Like you're, intentionally putting in blocks on the roadway to force yourself to, do what you need to do. But so fascinating. I think, I don't know, city planning, all of those things are probably like super cool. There's a lot of things I don't think about, but I think, yeah, if I was navigating signs, maybe we were going too fast. Maybe cars weren't meant to be as fast as they are. People used to walk, horse and buggy, Probably wouldn't miss any sign.
Speed limits is interesting because I feel like I never see speed limit signs anymore, to be honest. I'm always just looking at what the maps says that the speed limit is. So I think that makes a lot of sense of what you're saying of maybe the roads should communicate in different ways what speed. And I think generally we kind of know that, right? When you're in a residential area, it's probably 25, and when it's a little less residential, but it's not the highway, it's 35, and then the highway is 60, 70, 80, depending on the state. And yeah.
It's so interesting, for sure.
So as I was trying to put together this plan of deleting my Maps app and becoming better at directions, my father-in-law was talking to me about like, it'd probably just be a better idea to keep your Maps app and just not put in directions. And I thought that was a good idea too, because he was saying if you have it oriented so it is always following the cardinal directions, so always facing north, south, east, west, but you can see yourself in the context of that and see the streets around you, that can help you learn the streets a little bit better. And I was like, well, I did already delete the maps, and this feels like a more funny option to just completely delete my Maps app. So I think that might be one of my next steps, is re-download it and try that, using the maps to see where I'm at, but not just giving me the directions.
I do that a lot of the time. Usually I don't like, if I'm driving just in town, I'll have it displayed just because it's like an automatic on like the Apple CarPlay. But I think the fun times have been when I can see like that a road connects, or I can see a road in the distance and I'm like, I wonder where that goes. And I just turn down it because I can see that I can come back. So I've just been exploring random parts of the neighborhood because I can see the different roads on my display in front of me.
Yeah, and I want more of that. Like when I was in high school in my hometown, I used to have like every shortcut. Like I knew exactly what streets connected and exactly like where to go if this was blocked off, or I had like very convoluted shortcuts that people were like, this doesn't even, you're making so many turns. Is this even shorter? I'd be like, I promise it is.
Yeah.
Now I live in the city, so there's just a lot more ground to cover, a lot more to learn. But I still don't feel like I know more than just the basic main roads. So part of this is getting to know those better. And like you said, like even though didn't have the maps pulled up, when I looked it up beforehand and I looked at where I was trying to go and where I would kind of just have to mentally draw those lines and see, well, this road seems to go all the way this way. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll just take this, even though probably my Maps app wasn't going to tell me to go down that way anyway, because it's a side road or something like that. Which reminds me of a book that I read. It was called Filterworld by Chayka, and it's all about how algorithms shape the world around us in ways that you might not even think. And one of the things that the author mentions is even maps have an algorithm. So you might think of algorithms as in the Instagram algorithm or the TikTok algorithm, which is where our minds go to. And yes, that's a more obvious way, right? Of this is what the algorithm is feeding you. But even in something like finding directions or looking up a place on maps, it needs to have an algorithm to deliver that to you. It has some sort of code to give you that search result. So it's searching through the most popular routes, or it's searching through the most popular places to go for food. And there are algorithms that drive it. And it was in the book mentions even Waze, for example, is famous for finding shortcuts and reducing driving times. But what if one of those shortcuts is through a quiet neighborhood that didn't used to have a lot of traffic, and now suddenly the algorithm is totally changing what a person's experience is? Maybe kids can't play outside on the street the way that they used to. I know I used to do that when I was little, is we would literally play in the street because it was such a quiet neighborhood. Because now a bunch of people on their 5 p.m. commute, when they hit traffic, now they're being directed through this neighborhood, and it totally changes the environment. And, we don't really know why the map is sending us through somewhere. We just know that it is, and we're not making the decision that's best for us. We're letting the algorithm decide for us. And it's, you don't even think it's that deep, but it kind of is.
I mean, it's a sense of control. You have way more control when you're deciding how you're going to get somewhere and what you're going to do. It is so weird, though, to think about it. You are literally following it to a T and going with what it says. I remember when I was younger, though, when we had like the Garmin GPS, and my mom would get so mad when like rerouting, those types of things. But it's such a unique thing to look at it as an algorithm. That's so fascinating.
Well, and I feel like when the Garmins first came out, so many people hated them because they were like, it's not giving me the best route. Like, everyone was
Hmm.
like, this thing is wrong. And maybe, like, the early technology, it was wrong.
Yeah.
But also, maybe part of that is that people actually knew how to get around. So they were
Hmm.
like, I know a better way. I know that it's
Yeah.
5 p.m. and I need to go this way instead of that way. And I think maybe as we've gotten more used to using the technology, maybe our own
Hmm.
knowledge has gone away. And that's why we're not calling them out as being wrong.
Yeah. Our awareness of the world has shrunk because it's so convenient just to type in the address and go.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why I think it's important to, I think the kids are calling it friction maxing, which is, you know, what it sounds like is putting
Yeah.
friction back into your routines to be able
Hmm.
to learn something, to use your mind, to be a better person.
Yeah, it is so, it's so interesting. I do think there's so many things, like you said, that are just too easy. So why not take the hard way and see what you learn? New skills, new ways to get places. But that's also fascinating. Friction maxing.
Is there anything that you feel like you have been taking the easy way and you would add friction back into your routine?
I can't think of something right now, but one thing I do that I take the hard way is when I'm in a grocery store and I can't find something, I like refuse to ask for help. I think now though sometimes I do look ahead on like the Walmart app. It has the exact aisle of an item. And if I'm in a rush and I really want to know where something is, something I don't get often, I look it up ahead of time just so I know where I'm going. But I used to be very like hyper independent. I'm going to find this by myself. But outside of that, what else am I doing that I'm taking the easy way?
Well, is asking someone for help in a grocery
Mm,
store, is that necessarily bad? Because, like, what if you talk to them and they're like, why are you
that's
buying
true.
this? And you're like, I'm making a cake.
That's
And they're like, is it your
true.
birthday? And maybe you make a connection that you wouldn't have made before.
You're right. My hyperindependence is reducing my opportunity for community and connection. Wow. And I just wanted to do it by myself. But you're right. You're right. First popped in my head when you brought up the idea of like no maps and just the whole idea of making things less convenient. I know I wouldn't call it a trend necessarily, but a lot more people are making their own bread and like sourdough at home. And that's not an adventure I've taken yet because I don't think I would do very well at it. But like you said, making your own coffee really slows you down. You have a slow morning. You feel more proud of what you're making because you're putting in the time to do it. And people are very excited to show off their sourdough or their bread or just showing how easy it can be with, different technology like a bread maker or different things like that. But there is community around those things. There's community for people that like doing this specific thing. And you'll find that in so many different types of hobbies and crafts of I made this. Like this is something I don't know. That's why I think flea markets and farmer markets are so cool because people are selling their own things or like craft. Here's a bowl that I made with ceramics rather than buying it at a standard bowl from the store. It's a lot of like I don't know personality and creativity. There's
Yeah.
so many untouched things that could come just from you keep the ball rolling, get rid of more things, I guess, after maps.
Yeah, and I mean, even thinking about going to a farmer's market to buy something, like, there's a lot of friction there too. Any
Hmm.
farmer's market I've been to, the parking has not been easy, right? Like I have to park somewhere far away and I have to walk to it and you have to walk to the stand and you have to carry it around, but you also get exposed to so many different things because you're walking around just seeing things that you don't normally see and then just that person having to, they made it by hand and then they have to bring it all the way there.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing with farmers markets is they used to just be all cash only. I think
True.
cash, cards, Apple Pay, that's definitely friction maxing, if you will.
Yeah, it goes back to that study that I shouldn't reference it because I don't know who did it, when it came out, or anything. But I heard at one point in time that your brain doesn't process a card as spending money. Like you process cash as spending money, but a card isn't. And I wonder with so many technological advancements, like I wonder if that changes for like tap to pay or even tapping your phone because that really doesn't feel like I'm spending money at all.
And it's funny because the whole trend of girl money is like the opposite. Whereas like cash is fake money, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna use it. So going back to maps, I know we've covered a lot of topics, but in the future, you said, yeah, no maps, maybe adding the maps back, seeing how you can navigate things. What does that look like when you're the passenger, recommending this to your friends, other things like that? How do you think the future of no maps will live in your world and those around you?
I did experience that a couple times where I was the passenger and someone was like, "Can you do directions for me?" And I was like, "No, I cannot. But let me tell you how we're going to get there." And people are used to me always doing something.
Always doing something.
Always doing something. So people like generally went along with it, but I'm also really bad at giving directions. Like I'm not paying attention enough to be like, "Oh, shoot, sorry, you're supposed to turn there." Even if I do know where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
So for people to trust me on this, like I did have to be a little bit better at giving directions. It's the Gemini in me. I just can't give good directions. So that was one thing, but also I think it takes a little convincing when you are like the passenger, someone's driving, to be like, no, trust me, I got this. And then people will be like, "Oh, well, I just want to see it." And I'm like, no, trust me. I can get us there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a journey that everyone should go on with me because there's a lot to learn. And I will say, one of those times that I went with a friend, she mentioned like, you know what? It's like better that you're not like looking at a screen this whole time, right? Like when I was driving, I was like paying more attention to the road because I wasn't looking at the directions, seeing the next thing to do. And like the voice, like the direction voice wasn't interrupting our conversation. Like our conversation was flowing a little more because I wasn't constantly like interrupting the look at maps or anything. So like it is better for community because we're just like all in this together, you know?
Yeah, you bring up a good point. My one and only car accident happened when I was 17, and I was looking at my map because I was in a like busier city. I didn't know where I was going, and I was almost literally so close to where I needed to be. But I looked down quick to see like, okay, I need to turn the next light, this light, whatever, and I hit the car in front of me. And after that, I was like, okay, I need to have something to prop my phone up, all those different things that exist now. But it is really surprising how much we are a phones down, eyes on the road culture, but how easily we accepted GPS in giant displays in cars.
Yeah, there's a huge screen right in the car. Huge. How can that be okay?
And they're getting bigger. Like, I was in a car and I was like, why do you need, like, this is this, like, 13-inch display? Like, it spans the whole car. And I think maybe we're doing a little too much. Like, the Tesla screen, size of, like, a big iPad.
Yeah, you can play Stardew Valley on it. Did you know that? On your Tesla?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And what are we doing? It's... distracted driving is very prevalent, and I think maybe we accepted this too easily way back whenever Garments were invented. But you're right, I do think you build more community, you don't have to worry about this outside thing. So that's super interesting. But you are always doing something, so
we're always doing something. That's the purpose of this podcast.
And yeah, I guess maybe now I'll throw, I don't know. I'm not deleting mine, but I think does make you think a lot.
Do you think you could get from where you live to like your parents' house without maps?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, before this, I could not. So.
But I think it is a good test. It is fun. It makes every car trip like an adventure. Will I get there? Will I not? Will I have to ask a stranger for directions?
Could you drive to me without maps?
See, I could get really close. And I think that's because I do know the major highways and I know which ones I need to go to. So I could get really close. But I think I could. And hey, maybe next time I will. Maybe next time I'll try.
Yeah, you should do that.
But hey, if my ETA, if I'm 4 hours late because I took north instead of south, goodness. But maybe that's the Girl Scout in me. I think I know where I'm at, and I'll get there. But
do you know the cardinal directions? Like, can you point north anywhere that you are?
not anywhere that I am. I could point to north right now, but I think I would have to have like a landmark or something to know.
That's fair.
Maybe we should do a wilderness challenge.
And what does that entail?
You, me, a compass, a tent, some water.
Is that camping? Is the wilderness challenge camping?
No.
What's the challenge?
No, but maybe just to get somewhere. I think we should hitchhike, you know? That's a true test. You can see the signs plenty because you're going so slow. You don't need to worry.
Do you know what hitchhike
No,
is?
you're right. Not hitchhike. I don't want to ride with strangers. But maybe that's a missed opportunity of community. Maybe we should hitchhike. I don't know. You, me, and the Department of Transportation Ohio map against the world.
I agree.
That's the title of this episode.
Well, thank you for listening to my brainworm about deleting my maps. I was really excited to share this with you.
Yeah, I think we just came up with so many more ideas for future episodes. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much. This has been great. I love a surprise brainworm. Well, thank you all for listening. We've had a lot of fun with season 1, and we hope you're enjoying it too. As we get closer to the end of the season, make sure that you've joined our newsletter on Substack so you're kept in the loop during our spring hiatus that'll begin in April. You'll get access to exclusive updates and be in the know when we drop bonus episodes.
We are also running a referral program on Substack where you can earn fun prizes by sharing the podcast with a friend. Check it out at brainwormsandtangents.substack.com with all the other links that can be found in our show notes.
Thanks for listening.